What's up, IndyCar fans? David Land here, bringing you a Diecast review on 3 2016 Indy cars that I just never got around to reviewing last year. And with the start of the IndyCar Series season this weekend at St. Petersburg, I figured now is a better, there's never been a better time to review these cars. They are the Simon Pagenaud Hewlett-Packard Enterprises car, the Josef Newgarden Fuzzy's Vodka, and the Juan Pablo Montoya Verizon car. Now, you may be thinking, oh, well, these are 2016 cars. They're outdated. Why are you showing me this? They're not really all that outdated. In fact, it just happened to work out this way, but the last 3 Indy cars from last year and the drivers that are associated with those cars are all interconnected in terms of where these drivers, cars, sponsors, and numbers all ended up in 2017. So while they may seem outdated, honestly, most of these, in fact, all 3 of these cars would, if you were a collector or you are a stop motion person, or if you're just somebody who, you know, if you're a kid who likes to play with diecast, these are still very much in date. So if you didn't see the Bandwagoner's Guide, you don't know what I'm talking about yet, but if you did see the Bandwagoner's Guide, you do know how these cars are connected, how these numbers are connected, how these teams are connected. So the first car we are going to be taking a look at is your reigning IndyCar champion, Simon Pagenaud, in the Hewlett-Packard Enterprises car that he ended up winning the 2016 Verizon IndyCar Series championship in at the Sonoma Raceway. And actually this car just got a re-release with some slightly updated graphics as a tribute to his championship winning season. So this diecast you'll be able to find fairly easily, albeit it will have a few different sponsors this year. I did hear in the Bandwagoner's Guide, somebody commented that Hewlett-Packard is not coming back for Simon Pagenaud this year, which I kind of found surprising, but hey, you know what? If I hadn't heard that information and it's true, it is what it is. So unfortunately, this may be the only year we get the Hewlett-Packard Enterprises car, which is unfortunate because, of course, the IndyCar champion, unless he's named Scott Dixon, always wears the number 1. So we won't be seeing this car with a number 1 adorned on it, which is a bit of a shame. But 22 works just as well. Beautiful. I do like the almost teal green they used on this car. I actually also have this car in 1/18 scale. That was a Christmas present from my friend Race Day 2011, and it's just a really nice looking car. It's not as good as the old HP scheme on the old DW12 bodies, but it's serviceable, and I think it looks decent. It kind of gives me a Newman Haas vibe. Always the black and white Penske cars always give me a Newman Haas vibe. This is the card you get with Simon Pagenaud's car, and obviously it gives you a little bit of maybe some outdated information talking about how Pagenaud is still kind of was still striving for his IndyCar championship, which he finally brought in. But like I said in the Bandwagoner's Guide, ironically enough, he hasn't won on an oval yet. So Simon Pagenaud is still looking for that. He was close at Texas. He was in the lead group at the end of the race, but I think he was thinking championship, and decided discretion was the better part of valor on that one, and didn't go too hard at the end of the race. Let Rahal and Kanaan and Hinchcliffe really beat on each other for the win, and he just kind of drove it home fourth, which was one of the things that helped him win the championship. All he had to do was outrace power, which he was able to do. So that was a good thing. We do have a little bit of a wonky Hitachi logo there, which is kind of funny because that Hitachi logo actually is really kind of the way it would be with the new Chevy wing, the new Chevy Road Course wing, with their little weird flick up on the end plate. But very nice looking car. I'd say Greenlight did a stellar job. I love looking at these aero kits. Unfortunately, they're gone next year for something different, which we don't know what it looks like yet. And this is the corrected nose Chevy. So you'll see the other 2 diecasts have wonky noses. This is the corrected nose. Hopefully all the diecasts this year will have this corrected nose. It's weird, like half the diecasts have the corrected nose, half them don't from 2016, so hopefully they'll all have that corrected nose. So a very nice looking car. Let me know in the comments if you've picked this one up or if you're still planning to. because I think it's a pretty good idea to bring in, especially considering that this number, 22, despite the fact that Simon Pagenaud is not going to be using it this year, there's another driver who's going to be using it, and we'll be taking a look at him just a little bit later. The car we're taking a look at now is a driver who's only participating in one Verizon IndyCar Series race this year, at least only scheduled to participate in one. Juan Pablo Montoya, who went from the highest of highs in 2015, winning the Indianapolis 500, nearly taking the championship, to a one-race deal with Team Penske. Ironically enough, he'll be driving car number 22 at the Indianapolis 500, if it would focus on car number 22. There we go. Okay, but yeah, Juan Pablo only in for one race. He will drive car number 22 at the Indianapolis 500. Now, obviously, if he does well there, I would imagine that he might be in for, say, Pagenaud, maybe a few other races later on in the season. But the rumor mill has it that Juan Pablo is actually being held by Roger Penske to get him into his IMSA program, an IMSA prototype program, ironically enough, with Honda for 2018. We'll just have to wait and see how that all plans out. But obviously, this is virtually identical to the car that will be run by Josef Newgarden this year. Oh, spoiler alert for the connection to the next car in this review. But a beautiful looking car. I do have to say that the Verizon silver paint scheme is a very, very nice one. Probably one of the nicest paint schemes that Penske has run since the Marlboro days. So you have to say good job to the designers at Penske, because they hit a home run on this one. And I would say they definitely hit a home run versus the kind of the weird looking paint schemes, or livery, excuse me, sometimes I do that. The weird looking liveries they were running in 2015, where, in fact, you can see a few of them there, where it was just kind of, it was kind of weird. So there is the front of the card you get, and here's the back, talking about Formula One, the NASCAR Cup Series. Ironically, that's almost like they knew that that was going to be the name of the series. He's the only driver to win the CART Series title, the Indianapolis 500, and the 24 Hours of Daytona, all in his first attempt. That's very interesting. He's also won the Monaco Grand Prix and all sorts of fun stuff. So let's take a closer look at Juan Pablo Montoya's car, or I should say Josef Newgarden's car. But this is different than the Willpower in some ways, because it has Hawk Performance on the front wing. I think it's only Verizon for Willie P on the front wing. And you'll also notice that it's got the incorrect nose. If you take a look here at the Simon Pagenaud, the nose is straight, and for this one it's got a bit of a duckbill curve. It's kind of subtle, but it's something there. So this is the not corrected version of this diecast. But aside from that, the paint is all very nice looking. I do have a problem. The bumpers are a bit wonky here as you get around to the back. It's not very obvious until you kind of put it down, but you may notice that it's kind of high there and it's kind of far back. In fact, this is where it'll, well, I guess it won't be that obvious. Yeah, there we go. Obvious on the bottom. You can see the difference. I guess I haven't shown the bottom of one of these. That's what the bottom of an IndyCar looks like. IndyCar diecast anyway. But yeah, not much to say about this, because it is a very similar car to what Josef Newgarden has this year. I think there's just a different logo on the diecast this year. I think it says like Hum or something by Verizon on the sponsor blocker there. But that is Josef Newgarden / Juan Pablo Montoya's number 2 Verizon car. So speaking of Josef Newgarden, let's take a look at his 2016 ride. So finally, a couple Penske cars, and now the Penske's newest hire, Josef Newgarden. In fact, all 3 drivers in this diecast review will be driving for Roger Penske at some time this year. Yeah, this is the Fuzzies 21 car. Now, this isn't the one that ran at the Indianapolis 500. That was the Preferred Freezer Services, and in fact, it's not even the Fuzzies car that participated in most of the year. This paint scheme was kind of a commemorative 100th running of the Indianapolis 500 paint scheme that only ran, I think, at St. Petersburg, Barber, and Phoenix, and Long Beach, I believe, before before the Indianapolis 500, and this car switched to preferred freezer services. Now the 21 car this year is still continuing in the series, and it's actually going to be piloted by J.R. Hildebrand, who participated as the test driver last year for the Ed Carpenter Racing Team, and also ran with them at the Indianapolis 500 and the Grand Prix of Indianapolis in the number 6 preferred car. And now he's earned the full-time ride back after a long time kind of having his stock kind of bad after Panther kind of screwed him a bit when their team closed. So this is an interesting looking car. It's not particularly accurate. You may notice the brick pattern on the car. The white and the gray should be flipped to actually make it a proper looking die-cast, or an accurate looking die-cast. However, you may notice that Fuzzy's Vodka, obviously by the name, is an alcohol sponsor. And you'll also notice that there is no base on this car. Kind of nice that Greenlight kind of has enough faith in folks to be able to make their own decisions when buying cars. Now, obviously, on the box, there is 21 plus and adult collectible, so they do get their legal stuff covered. But at the same time, they don't hold your hand by putting a car on a base just for absolutely no reason. So Josef Newgarden, 21, and here is all the stuff on the back. I'm not going to read that because that's a huge amount of stuff to read. But if you're interested, pause that and read it. And let's take a closer look at this car, because it's maybe the first and only time, unless Hildebrand ends up winning the Indy 500 this year, that we'll have a 21 car. You can see the commemorative 100th running Fuzzy's Vodka bottle. Those were all over Indianapolis during the month of May. You couldn't go into a Meijer without seeing a whole rack of those things, as well as Coke. Coke also did a commemorative bottle. You got Community Health Network, which is interesting to see. You've got the Indianapolis Motor Speedway wing and wheel logo, along with the bricks. Nothing on the front wing, end plate. You got Preferred Freezer Services on the sponsor blocker, along with Fuzzy's Vodka, and some interesting pinstriping there with the gold. The gold is very nice. I do like that quite a bit. Direct supply. I do love it also when we get the Fuzzy's cars. We don't get them very much, but when we do, it's always fantastic to get them. More Fuzzies on the rear wing, and the gold is just fantastic. Just a beautiful looking die-cast, I would say. Obviously, again, you've got the duckbill looking nose. You can see the nose goes down and it goes whoop up like that, and that is not accurate. But again, hopefully they have solved that problem for this year, and all of our die-casts will be beautiful, both in terms of paint scheme and in terms of mold quality. So, that's Josef Newgarden / J.R. Hildebrand's car for this year. Let's take a look at all these cars together, and I'll give some final thoughts. I think it would be appropriate to call these diecast 2016 and a half rather than just 2016 or 2017 diecast, because they're all essentially the same cars that are racing this year, just with different drivers and running with different numbers. Simon Pagenaud, obviously the IndyCar champion, he's going to be number 1 this year. His number 22 will be going to Juan Pablo Montoya, whose number 2 car will be going to Josef Newgarden, who by vacating that seat to that seat will give this to J.R. Hildebrand, and who will also be running a Fuzzy's car. Oops, excuse me. J.R., I'm sorry, I ran into Juan Pablo Montoya. But yeah, so all interconnected, fairly interesting diecast review. I certainly am happy to finally have shown these off to everybody. It's been a long time coming. So if you did enjoy it, thank you guys so much for watching. Hit the like button and subscribe for more IndyCar content. So thank you guys so much for watching once again. This has been David Land on YouTube, and we'll see you in the next video.